Welcome to the OSEP Virtual Leadership Session on Perspectives on Implementing High-Quality Inclusion. Recently, the U.S. Department of Education and Health and Human Services released a policy statement on inclusion of children with disabilities in early childhood programs. This statement outlines the department's position that all young children with disabilities should have access to inclusive, high-quality early childhood programs where they are provided with individualized and appropriate support in meeting expectations. As the statement outlines, we know that children with disabilities and their families continue to face significant barriers to accessing inclusive, high-quality early childhood programs, and too many preschool children with disabilities are only offered the option of receiving special education services in settings separate from their peers without disabilities. In fact, in 27 years, the practice of providing special education and related services in regular early childhood settings to preschoolers with disabilities has increased only 5.7%, and many young children with disabilities continue to be educated in separate settings. The Ed and HHS policy statement sets an expectation for high-quality inclusion in early childhood programs, highlights the legal and research base for inclusion, identifies challenges to adopting inclusive practices, provides recommendations to states and local programs and providers for increasing inclusive early learning opportunities for all children, and links to free resources for states, local programs, and providers and families that have been developed to support inclusion of children with disabilities in high-quality early education programs. It is also important to note that while we often hear about preschoolers and inclusion, this is not solely an issue for 3 to 5-year-olds. Children birth through 2 also need considerations for receiving services in their natural environments, which may be programs such as childcare or early Head Start. In this session, you will hear from programs about strategies used to implement inclusion for young children with disabilities. You will also hear a parent's perspective on implementing high-quality inclusion. First, you will hear from Nancy Anderson, the Assistant Director of Student Services at the David Douglas School District in Oregon. She will be sharing program strategies to support the implementation of high-quality inclusion for children birth through 5.
Hi, my name is Nancy Anderson. I'm the Assistant Director for Student Services for David Douglas School District. I'm happy to join you today to talk about what we're doing to include all students in typical settings. We are a district that's pretty big. We serve all of Multnomah County, and we have about 2,300 kids in our program, both birth to 3 and 3 to 5. In Oregon, we have a seamless system for birth to 5 before kids enter school. So it's a little different than other states. I have to say right up front, this is not what I typically do. I'm not usually in front of a camera. It kind of freaks me out a little bit. I'd rather be sitting in a preschool at a little kid table and being engaged. But what I tried to do is prepare a little bit about what our process has been over the past few years to get to where we are now, because I think it's important to know that you don't just one day say, oh, let's include all kids and start to do things, because it doesn't work that way. You really have to build things over time, build competencies, kind of set the table to make things work. So I create a little bit of a map here, and I imagine you're not going to be able to see it all, but it's more to guide me through our conversation. So several years ago, we really looked at what we were doing for young children in our program, and we were pretty much of a medical model, birth to 3, and 3 to 5, we had a lot of kids in typical settings, but still a lot of kids in self-contained settings that we were running our own classrooms. And we started to look at the outcomes, and we realized that we really didn't have great outcomes and that we needed to make some changes. But we didn't know exactly what that needed to look like. So we kind of created a culture for change, and we started talking about head, heart, and feet. What do we think is really positive and possible? What do we think we can do as far as building in our hearts what we want to see happen for kids, and then also starting to act on things and change what it is we're doing. From there, we started to build competencies. We did a lot of research, and we found what evidence-based practices were out there and what promising practices, and we started to do a lot of staff training, reading, research, and initial implementation. So we looked at primary provider model, we did training on routine-based interviewing and eco-maps, person-centered planning, and a lot of work on coaching skills. That led to some great outcomes in our early intervention program, Birth Through 2. We had an increase in natural environments, we increased our parent engagement, we increased functional routines, functional goals, which led to better developmental skills, and also we created a parent expectation for typical settings as kids transition to 3. In our 3 to 5 program, we looked at early childhood positive behavior supports and mental health consultation. We looked at coaching skills, we did training on general ed curriculum, and then also instruction and engagement. That led to an increase in typical settings. We had an increase in our peer program from about 50 peers to 400 in the course of a year. We dropped from about 27 self-contained classrooms to about 13. When we integrated those classrooms, it increased our collaboration time with our partners, and it also increased the quality pre-K environment, which increased developmental skills and also increased parent and child experiences. Now we're trying to continue the focus and have continual improvement. Through our professional learning teams and our school improvement team, our data showed that we didn't have great results in the area of social emotional development. We had great skills, but kids weren't able to use those skills in the context of different environments. So we approached and worked with the University of Colorado at Denver to look at the LEAP program. And we were particularly interested in that because it aligned with our culture, because it's inclusive, and it's also very naturalistic, and it leads to really great social skills and outcomes for kids. Right now, we're focused on classroom organization and planning, which includes the physical space, the schedule, transitions, and the roles within that for staff, the routines, building on routines within routines and routines, things that are very predictable for both the staff and for the kids so they get to know and can experience and use that and build those social skills across all the kids in the classroom. We're working on teaching skills and strategies, functional outcomes and goals, embedded teaching, very intentional, not accidental, engaging in material and very engaging materials and activities. I like the concept of we step in, we step back, and we kind of watch. We don't take on everything, all of the teaching. We're doing individualized instruction, and we're really emphasizing the prevent, teach, reinforce model and looking at our data. Basically, the social skills training, lengthy encounters, and reciprocity are key, teaching kids how to get attention, how to share, both get and get things, be play organizers, and give compliments to each other. Next, we'll start working on our parent component as a part of that process. We've had some great quick wins, and we're seeing kids already demonstrate a lot of these skills. So we're excited about it. We're working with the University of Colorado at Denver to come in and do our coaching. It's increased the coaching within our own staff, and it's a great model.
Now you will hear from Maggie Connelly, the Head Start Education Coordinator at the Chapel Hill Training Outreach Project. She'll be sharing stories from her experiences with inclusion, along with strategies used to successfully implement. She will also touch on the benefits of inclusion.
My name is Maggie Connelly, and I work for Chapel Hill Training Outreach Project in North Carolina. Our program has early Head Start, home-based, center-based option, and we work with a number of partner sites as well. Currently, I'm the Head Start Education Coordinator for Orange County, and I'm responsible for 80 3- and 4-year-olds in 5 different classrooms. Head Start gives priority to families of children with disabilities. Of course, we are mandated to serve 10% of our population, our children with disabilities, but we try to do so much more than that. We have learned, and we know through experience, that early identification and providing children and families with supports through early intervention services is the best chance for positive outcomes for children with disabilities. Having an environment that is inclusive of all children and families is the right thing to do for so many reasons. And so I'd like to tell you a few stories to kind of highlight some of those benefits. First, for families, gives them more choice, more options of places for their children. It makes their children feel like they belong. This past summer, we had an Hispanic family who has a 3-year-old with Down syndrome applied to our program. But that child had already been diagnosed by her local pediatrician and referred to the public schools. The public schools were offering her a self-contained classroom of 8 children with disabilities with 2 staff. In our program, she would be in a classroom of 14 children with 2 staff, but a majority of them would be typically developing. This mom did not know she had a choice, and it was really through the work of our Head Start family support specialists that she was made to understand that she could choose either one of these environments. It was a hard decision for her, trying to think where would she get the most services, but in the end she chose the inclusive environment because she wanted the positive peer role models for her child, and knowing that her child will probably be getting services for the rest of her life, she wanted to give her one more chance at just having a normal environment. And so she chose our program. For the teachers and the staff of that in that classroom, when they heard they were getting a child with Down syndrome, needless to say, they were very concerned and worried. How will we meet this child's needs? What will, she's an itty bitty thing. What will happen when she gets in this rambunctious group of 14 3-year-olds? Will we be able to meet all of her needs? And so it was through time and support that we were able to give them the information that they needed to collaborate with one another and with the parent to know that it was worth giving it a try. And even though this child didn't have language, wasn't potty trained, and was little, they just wanted to give it a try. And this child has come into their class and all their worries have gone away because she's able to function. They've got the supports in place, and it's been really, for the first part of the year, a wonderful experience for both the teachers and the children. Finally, the children with and without disabilities benefit from high inclusive quality childcare programs. Any environmental modifications or simple adaptations that you need to make for a child with disabilities benefits the child without disabilities. Everybody has a daily schedule, but when you need to make a picture schedule so that it helps those children with disabilities through the transitions, it helps all children through the transitions. When you need to take a task or an activity and break it down into smaller steps for a child with disabilities, that helps all children. Besides, the children without disabilities get the feel proud that they're able to show or to help or to model what that other child might need. Some implementation strategies for success that I would encourage is to give the process as much time and support as it needs. Often it just requires that information is shared between the people who have that information, or for that information to settle in and then be able to move forward with it. Of course, you want to have regular check-ins, to pop in whenever you can to see if everything's going right. We have routine child and family team meetings to address any new challenges that have come up. The supports in the classroom are essential, and having therapists come into the regular environment, offer those suggestions to the staff, set things up as that child needs it, once again benefits everyone. I feel strongly, and I know my colleagues do, that having a classroom of children that mirrors the makeup of our community, that looks like what they see wherever they go, is really, really important. It helps everyone to be more accepting of diversity and to learn from one another, and it's the best thing to do.
Now you will hear from Sherry Britt Williams. She's a parent of a child in an inclusive preschool, and she also works for the North Carolina Early Learning Network as a consultant. She will be sharing her family story about high-quality inclusion and the benefits for her children.
Our daughters, Ava and Aubrey, were born about 3 months early at 26 weeks gestation. We spent about 2.5 months in the NICU, and we were connected pretty quickly with Part C early intervention. We received a lot of wonderful supports while in early intervention. One of the most helpful supports was the transition process when Ava and Aubrey were around 2.5 years old. We were able to meet with staff from our local preschool and plan for an eligibility evaluation for Part B preschool. The eligibility evaluation really set the stage for what is now a successful preschool experience. The evaluation team used the transdisciplinary play-based assessment, which really gave an accurate picture of what our girls were able to do. The assessment also included input from us as parents, so we were able to discuss achievements and concerns that the team may not have noticed during the evaluation. Overall, it was a great experience that helped the team see their unique successes and challenges in a natural play setting. Once we discussed the evaluation results, we learned that Ava did not qualify for Part B preschool services, but Aubrey did. We had concerns all along about some sensory integration issues and some other atypical behaviors, as well as speech concerns for Aubrey. And the play-based assessment provided an opportunity for the staff to observe those concerns as well. It was really important to us to make sure Aubrey was placed in a setting with teaching staff who understood her unique needs, especially as they relate to social and emotional development, and also understood the importance of supporting social and emotional development in young children, since that's the foundation upon which all other areas of development and learning are built. As we explored our options with Part B preschool, we were so happy to have the option of placing Aubrey in a classroom with a teacher who was trained in Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning, or CEFL. An extra bonus was that this classroom was also an inclusive classroom, which meant that we could also enroll Ava, who is typically developing. Being in an inclusive classroom means that Ava and other children who are more savvy at socializing and exploring can help Aubrey become more comfortable with doing that. And Ava also benefits greatly from all of the great opportunities an inclusive class gives to children who are typically developing. As part of the focus on social and emotional development, our preschool classroom involves family members in many different ways so that we feel like we're a part of the classroom family as well. There are also activities in the classroom that incorporate family members to encourage communication and reading and writing skills. There are great supports for helping children to understand and name their feelings and how to express those feelings in a safe way, which really creates this atmosphere of everyone being aware of and supporting one another and fewer problem behavior issues happening in the classroom. There are also great supports for transitioning and learning routines and what to expect next during the day, which is especially helpful for Aubrey. We feel very fortunate to be part of this wonderful inclusive classroom, which emphasizes the importance of social and emotional development. And even though we just started in September, we're already noticing now in January great progress with both Ava and Aubrey. Ava is more aware of those around her and how she can help them and work together with them. Aubrey is becoming more comfortable with being around people and experiencing new things. There seems to be a greater sense of wonder and curiosity about how things work and what they mean. There's an excitement and thirst for learning and more of an interest in sharing what she is experiencing with others. This high-quality, inclusive experience with an emphasis on social and emotional development has given Aubrey such a strong foundation to build upon, and we feel so hopeful and excited about all of the wonderful gains she'll continue to make.